So you can see by considering the Bible verses that the Bible passages that I described in the earlier videos, that there is a reason that we can understand as to why there is this intensity around how people are treating each other in the Christian fellowship. And these are things that we need to understand correctly, both for our own surviving the fellowship and our walk with God, but also, how do we treat each other? So I'm going to come to another passage in the Bible in Matthew 18, verse 6. It says, "But whoso shall offend one of these little ones, which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depth of the sea." This is a serious crime. To offend a child, to offend a young plant, to damage the seeds and the young plants, whether it's a child or whether it's a person who's just young in their walk with God, this is an offense. This is a crime. It would be better to die, Jesus says, than to commit that crime. Verse 8, woe unto the world because of offenses. We live in a world that has many offenses, many wrongs. Woe unto the world because of offenses, for it must needs be that offenses come. But woe to that man by whom the offense cometh. We have a world with free will and free choice. So many times it is needs be because of free will that there are things that happen that we don't understand. We live in a world of sin where there's a lot of evil as well as good. So once again, Jesus is saying he understands that there are offenses and wrongs that come. And if you go in verse 8 and 9, it talks about that it's important for us to take away anything that might needlessly offend or harm someone else. It could be our right hand, our right eye, anything that would needlessly offend another person or cause harm needs to be dealt with. Okay? And then you go to verse 10, it says, "Take heed that ye despise not one of these little ones, for I say unto you that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven." So, this is a serious matter. The angels are keeping record when there are needless offenses and crimes and wrongs in the world, as well as by supposed Christians. Okay, so we have an obligation. When we become part of the Christian fellowship, we have an obligation in how we treat others and in looking at ourselves and clearing out of our lives anything in our inventory that is a needless offense. Okay, so we have a time of intensity in the world, a time when people are dealing with this, and I don't say this critically because we're all dealing with realizing there's something going on in the world. This is end times. We're seeing all these events happening. We're waking up to what's going on. We're waking up to Bible prophecy if we're open to hearing about that. Okay, so I want to describe one example of what I see happening. I'm not going to name the particular sin or problems that people have been polarized on. We've all seen what's happened with that. But I want to give an example. Years and years and years ago, I left a relationship where there was domestic violence. I left for my life to be safe. I left for the life of my child. During that time, I would go to church and I would hear people from the pulpit talk about how end-time events were shown by how many single parents there were, how many people were going through divorce and all of that. This was being used to throw darts at people, a needless offense in the name of God. This is not what the Bible teaches. Fortunately, God helped me see through that and not take that on But this is an example of this polarization that occurs. We pick our favorite sin of the week to criticize, post YouTube videos about, and all of that, when according to the Bible, we're all sinners. I would hate to have some of the sins that are being pointed out now and be trying to sort out between myself and God about those things and hear the things that people are posting. Those things are barriers. Not that we should enable sin, of course, or deny, but this is a hard time to have certain types of problems and sins and think that there's hope in God. And we need to be aware of that as Christians. This is a hard time for people to want to follow Jesus because of the polarization that's occurred, whether it's in politics or religion or all over. Satan's taken advantage of this, and there's a reason for that. So I'm going to come back. I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to come back to talking about some ways to stay focused on what we need to that's going to help us through this time to survive the fellowship and provide, hopefully, a safe community for new believers, both young and old, and young plants. Thank you.